Good afternoon, Easton. I'm Carrie Rapolo, and this is the Shoveltown Scoop. Today is May 2nd, 2016. Here's the scoop. Last week, during Monday night's Board of Selectmen meeting, Police Chief Gary Sullivan welcomed 2 new sergeants to the Easton Police Department. Let's take a look at their introductions to the community.
Introduce our 2 newest sergeants. On my left is Sergeant Brandon Walkus. On his right is Sergeant Phil Adams. Sergeant Adams has been a police officer for more than 5 years. He began his career at the Acushnet Police Department, and he transferred to Easton in September of 2014. Sergeant Walkus has been a police officer for more than 17 years, primarily with our department. He has spent some time with the Barnstable Police and I believe the West Bridgewater Police as well. In the last 3 years, he has served in our detective division, where he's done some very good work. Both sergeants are currently assigned to the day shift, and they're receiving some training, and ultimately will likely be moved to the midnight shift and spend some time up there. So here they are.
Great. At the same meeting, Fire Department Chief Kevin Partridge, along with Chief Sullivan, presented the Board of Selectmen with the need for a regional emergency communication center and how it would be both beneficial financially and operationally to the town of Easton. The facility would most likely end up in Mansfield once the police department building is renovated within the next few years. Here is part of the presentation outlining the benefits of a facility as discussed by Chief Partridge.
Why do we think that Easton, it would be good for Easton to become part of the rec? It would improve regional decision-making. I think anytime we can collaborate with other communities, it can be a benefit, especially through the grant opportunities. It would improve interoperability amongst the 4 communities. We do a lot of work with Norton and Mansfield on the fire side, and I do believe the police department rely on each other. So we would look at equipment upgrades, radio system upgrades, enhanced dispatch and communications. So as you know, one of the issues that we've been trying to do is to get microwave links in the town for our radio system. Part of this would either it would be done through microwave or through fiber, to be able to link all 4 communities, police and fire, together. So we would see some enhancements there. There would be a dispatch supervisor, director, if you will, and then supervisors on each shift to provide that enhanced dispatch and QA, QI on each shift. Resource and information sharing, we would now look at, again, I mentioned we do mutual aid with each other. We would have systems now where we could share information from each other's community on laptops and computers.
At the April 26th Capital Planning meeting, Assistant Superintendent Leisha Cabral presented an app that can be downloaded to educators' phones that would communicate with other classrooms and emergency staff in the case that there's an emergency lockdown event where critical thinking may need to be addressed in a 2-way communication situation. Let's take a look at her presentation, the Capital Planning meeting.
App. Again, in talking to David Twombly and Dr. Keogh, they felt strongly that this is one of the priorities. So this is not a list of priorities. They felt this was probably at the top of the list. What this does is, for the proprietary sole source purchase cost, it allows us to have an app that all faculty members can have on their cell phones, that if there is an intruder, we are able to either let everyone in the district or everyone in a particular school know about that. It alerts their phone, but then it also allows for 2-way communication. And so we feel it's probably the best protection because we cannot rely on the PA system. We don't know if that area will be compromised. We can't rely on visual or verbal cues if we have everybody in a lockdown. That's exactly what we don't want. Since everybody has a cell phone, certainly within their area, probably several, this would allow them to not only transfer back what they can see and hear in their own classrooms, but they can find out. And as part of our training from Synergy, one of our options is to try to leave whenever possible. And you certainly don't want to do that if somebody's near you, but if you know that someone's on the opposite side of the building, it does give you an opportunity for some critical decision making.
The committee decided to table that request until the fall and revisit the need for additional funding in the budget at special town meeting in November. Also, at the Audit Committee meeting dated on the 27th, Dr. Lori Hahn defined where she feels the scope of the audit should focus when it goes out to RFP. Audit Committee members agreed that the school does a lot of its own auditing and is cognizant of making sure efforts are not going to be duplicated, the scope of the audit. Let's take a look at that discussion.
I'm making it up.
Easton has no computer science, no.
Right. It was very,
things.
right, and it was, I mean, honestly, I feel like we would pay an auditor to do what you already did. Like, I think that you did the work already, and I just don't know how much more we would get out of that.
So,
What's the end game? What are we gonna?
well, so let me just, if I can, just a comment on that, because I want to bring it back to something I said last time, and then I won't talk as much this time, which is, I think some of what you're trying to get into is too deep. Some of it is, you would talk about curriculum as more on our level, but, when I look at these other RFPs, it's just curriculum policy, procedure, management, and controls. And the data they will look at that, they'll look at the NEASC evaluation, they'll do comparisons. They can tease that out, I don't think, with any significant increased cost, whether you define it very narrowly or very broadly. I think some of it you're breaking down a little too much. The professional development stuff, and I talked about that last time, I think that's important because that's a huge deficit for us, and I would like that to come to light publicly.
The
That
course offerings.
Well, I was talking about both, but yeah, just in general, I think you could keep course offerings broad, just to say curriculum development, management, and policies, really.
If you'd like to watch any of those videos from last week and the meetings, you can also go to our website, which is eastoncat.org, where you can find all of the meetings in their entirety. So tonight we have a Board of Selectmen meeting coming up where they will address the board reorganization with new member David Mills, who was voted in last week, taking Dan Smith's seat. And they will also vote on a seat for chair of the Board of Selectmen. And then they will reaffirm the statement of ethics and values. Another item on the agenda is to go over the draft warrant articles for May 16th town meeting. If you'd like to view those draft warrants, you can go to the town's website. It's listed here, easton.ma.us, and you can check out the PDF for download. All right, so let's take a look at some upcoming events in our community. The Moms Club of Easton is hosting their annual Family Fun Fest at Maplewood on May 15th. That'll start at 10 o'clock in the morning. All proceeds will be benefiting the Ames Free Library, the Children's Museum of Easton, the Eastondale Playground, and a few other local organizations. And then we have May 18th, the Queeset House is the musical performance of the Riverboat Stompers. That'll begin at 6:30 p.m. and is a free family event. And then, of course, we have May 20th at Richardson Olmsted. They're hosting the Family Steam Night from 6 to 7:30 p.m. This will be full of fun, hands-on activities for the whole family in science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And then we have on May 21st, the annual Fun Run at the Sheep Pasture. This is a family-friendly event and is open to runners of all ages and abilities. You can register online at their website listed here. All running will be done on trails, paths, and fields throughout the beautiful sheep pasture property. And then finally, on May 24th, the popular Taste of Easton event is going to be held at Stonehill College again. This is a celebration of the many restaurants in the Easton area. The town's best restaurants will be on hand serving up their specialties. Cost is $20 in advance, or $25 at the door. You can go to tasteofeaston.com for more information, and all of their, or a portion of their proceeds will be benefiting the Easton Food Pantry. And that should do it for this week's scoop. We will see you again here next time. Thanks.